Hey y'all, it's Rachel from Mother Far From Home, language of listening parent coach, sleep consultant, mother, new author, which I'll tell you about later. Let's talk about what to do when you need to make dinner and it's the crazy bad hour where nobody's happy. When our kids are really young, like, everybody's still gotta eat. It doesn't matter what's happening in life, we always gonna have to make sure everybody's gonna eat, okay? So this can, especially whenever life's getting stressful, it's like, but they have to eat anyway. Here are a few tips to get into exactly what we can do to make dinner time a little bit less stressful that time when we actually need to cook. The first one, which is quite obvious, so I'll go ahead and hit it, is this is a good time for screen time. So if you're gonna have screen time, this is the time to do it. I'm a big proponent, and I have a whole video on screen time, but I'm a big proponent of not just like randomly resorting to screen time, but using it in a way that best benefits you. Okay, so if you really need them to be still so you can cook dinner, this is when you want to use screen time, not randomly in the morning when nothing's really happening and they don't need it, okay? So this is when you might put them in front of the TV, or if it's an iPad, sit them somewhere near you, or whatever it is. Using screen time during this time is just kind of a way to get yourself some peace so you can make dinner. That's an obvious. The number two way, a thing you can do with kids during dinner time to make it flow a little easier, is not really have much left to do at that dinner time hour. So some personalities are gonna find this much easier to prep your meal, you know, in the morning or in the afternoon. And during different seasons of life, I have done this. In other seasons of life, it was like in the afternoon when they're napping, I actually have to do something else. I have to work or get something done. I can't do the cooking. But if possible, and it's something you can prep ahead of time and get everything ready to put on a sheet pan, put in the slow cooker, put on the, you know, skillet, whatever it is. If you can prep it earlier, then it takes less effort and less time when it's actually dinner time. And this can go a long way in not feeling that, I like to call them the evening dread. No, sorry, that's not what I call it. I call it
dread and doom.
It's when the dread and doom time comes. It's like 4:34, depending on what time you eat dinner, to 5, and you're like, people have gotten up from their nap and they're fussy, or you've gotten the kids home from school and they've done a little homework and they're also fussy, and well, we're fussy, and now everybody's still gotta eat. If the dread and doom time is big for you, I would really figure out how you can have meals, especially the nights where you know it's the worst. This can be when you use a freezer meal or food that you bought frozen, or kind of like a put together meal. That's my next tip, is do a put together meal that doesn't require like an hour of cooking. So when I had this on a certain night of the week, my daughter had gymnastics or we had other things and it was gonna be a short time that I could prepare, this is when I would do something easy like cheese and bread and fruit. Or this is when you might do cereal, or you might do breakfast for dinner, aka oatmeal packets and grits packets. Okay, so something that actually doesn't take a lot of time, or it might just be chopped veggies, chopped fruit, pepperoni and cheese. You get what I'm saying? So anything like that you can just gather, chop up, and put, this will still fill you up. This can still be filling, especially if you add some bread to it. And then it doesn't require a lot of cooking, and you can just do this fast, and that makes your meal prep super easy. Another thing that you can do, especially if your kids are little, because this 1-year-old age is so hard. I mean, they're like going from one end of the room to the other end of the room. They brought down 5 different things, and then they try to climb on and dive off something. Super hard. Can't let them out of your sight, right? And of course, a baby, if they're not napping, they're gonna be with you anyway. So put the little ones in high chairs, give them some crayons or some toys, or put them at the table if they're younger, and you can do, while you're bustling around cooking, give them something to do that doesn't require a lot of your effort. You know, you don't want them to be
painting on the table when you're busy cooking.
Something that they can do on their own, read a book, whatever it is. So have them stay right there near you so that you know what they're doing and you can actually stay in the kitchen. Because if you're they're running off to another room and then you're having to go make sure they're not eating Lego, and then you're like, something's burning and it's like all a big hot mess. Keep them near you and just be strict about the rule. This is the boundary. You're staying at the table while I'm cooking. This is what's happening. Unless you need to potty, you're staying here. Make it a rule, enforce it, keep them there. Then it doesn't feel as frantic, because, side tip, we feel super frantic when we know we have a boundary, we have a thing that we want to happen. The kids need to stay in the kitchen when I'm cooking so they're safe. This is the boundary. And then if they don't do it, or they wander off, or they're gonna go to the bathroom, and they get lost in their other room, whatever, we start to build anger inside, because we're like, this is not what needs to happen for everything to be smooth right now. What our normal response is like,
don't be so hard, like it's fine, you shouldn't get angry.
We beat ourselves up, when actually they should just do what we said and they should stay at the table. Another tip, if you have a wild card child who you know kind of is going to get into it or is more difficult and you kind of need to be around them, is to have them be a helper. So you can also rotate helpers in the kitchen. So if you have a few kids and you don't want them all in there helping at once, it's too much, it's too chaotic, you can have one at a time. So you can have The other two busy, whether doing screen time or something where they're supervised or right beside you, and you can have a helper. So this means at least one child is right with you doing something and you rotate them in and out. This is a good way to just have somebody near you, somebody learning. It's a great life skill, great opportunity for them to get some information about how to cook dinner, how to prepare it. It's a little bit of bonding time for you, and it's one less kid to be off in the middle. I have one child who has ADHD. If I need to keep somebody with me, I can keep him with me, and everybody else is just fairly calm. So this is something that you can pull out if you know things just get crazy and chaotic. I say this a lot, you might have heard me say this, but back when we lived in Australia, my friend Young had 3 kids, and she told me whenever her first was premature and they were going back and forth to the hospital a lot, and then with each subsequent child, although they weren't doing the hospital back and forth, she changed the standard of dinner, and she communicated it to her husband, namely, but you know, because the other kids were small. But the new goal of dinner is that it's edible. You literally can eat it, and that's the goal. It's not that I'm trying a new meal all the time, and it's not the fancy cheeses, and we're not doing specific diets, unless somebody obviously celiac, okay? But some nights, this literally might be buttered pasta. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, okay? So if you're in a season that's super busy, or it's super stressful, or you've got like a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, a baby, or you know, it's right before you're about to have your baby, or it's postpartum, or it's during, say, playoff time, or whatever the case may be, when you're strung out, but you're still the one that has to do everything. And I talk about this in my book that's coming out in the fall called If Mama Ain't Happy. If Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I'm gonna link that below. But if you're the one that has to do everything, you get to determine the standard at which you're able to do it. If your husband doesn't like what you're doing for dinner, he's a grown man and he can cook. But if he's not going to cook, you get to choose the standard, okay? You might have to drastically lower your standard in certain seasons of life, and that's okay, and that's just what you gotta do. So you don't crumble in all areas and be trying to work out a gourmet meal. It doesn't happen. So think realistically about the season you're in, about your ability to put forth the meals that, you know, whatever your like pie in the sky standard is, what you're actually able to do. And then once you realize, actually, I can't do all that anymore, it has to be quick, it's got to be a simple thing, then once you know that, then you're gonna have lots of possibilities and ideas come up. You're gonna be able to do more effective research and searching or whatever, buying the cookbook, finding the website that'll help you figure out things that you can offer within your ability to do it. My biggest takeaway from this video is, if you're the one having to do it all, you've got to realize what your limits and standards are reasonably can be this time. Let go of all the rest of the guilt and worry about it and stick with those. And then as the kids are older, as they're able to go off and do other things unsupervised, or as they're able to help you or do the other things that might be pulling you away from dinner, you'll have more room. You might find that you love cooking, you want to experiment, but if you're in that season of life where it's manic to do it, you just gotta bring down the standard, do the best you can. I'll see you on the next video.